What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Exotics Anonymous. Today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. Is the Audi S6 a true BMW M5 competitor? Now you'll see I have an Audi sweatshirt on, but I'm going to remain completely impartial and unbiased, I promise. To those of you who know the difference between these cars off the top of your head, you might be thinking, no, they're not really competitors. But bear with me for a second here, because I might be able to change your mind in some areas. Now the Audi S6 technically sits in the middle of Audi's range. It's above an A6, but it's below an RS6. The problem is, until very recently, we didn't even get an RS6 in the United States, and the one that we do get now is only available as a wagon. The M5, however, was only available as a sedan for a long time, but is now available as both a sedan and a wagon. But for the last 10 years or so, all we've had was the sedan M5, and we didn't even have an RS6 until very recently. So you had to compare essentially the S6 sedan, which I'm driving right now, and an M5 sedan. Now, traditionally, the M5 has always made more power. When this car came out, this is a 2013, it makes 420 horsepower. The 2013 M5 makes 560 horsepower. So the M5 has a power advantage right away. But there's a difference in how they put the power down. The S6 is all-wheel drive, whereas the M5 is rear-wheel drive. And if you've ever driven one of those F10 generation BMW M5s, you know, they don't really put the power down unless you very slowly roll onto it. Or if you're already on the highway, then they put it down with no issue, really. The S6, however, is all-wheel drive. So right off the line, you're putting the power down, and you can beat a lot of cars that have more power than you, up until, say, 60 miles an hour, because they just can't put the power down without, spinning. So performance-wise, in most real-world scenarios, the S6 is, in some cases faster, but until you get on the highway, really, you'll be quicker than most things around town. Electric cars now are kind of ruining that for everybody. They're the quickest things off the line. But, for people that actually like real cars, the S6 is great. It's faster than almost anything you'll run into on the roads. Unless you run into like an RS7, in which case, See if I can give you guys a little taste of the speed right here of an S6. Yeah, see, it's not slow. It's definitely not slow. And, depending on where you live, it's probably too fast for the roads. It's kind of too fast for the roads here. I recently moved from Florida, where everything's wide open and straight, to somewhere not as wide open and straight and a lot colder. Which, if you haven't seen my video on what I had go wrong with this car when I moved somewhere cold, you should go check that out because it's pretty entertaining. Okay, so we've talked about speed and performance a little bit. The M5 is faster on the highway. The S6 is faster around town. Let's talk about interior quality. I'll try and loop in some B-roll shots as I'm driving here for you. The inside of the M5, it looks like every other BMW ever made, which is fine if you like BMWs, that's what you're into. But you find like a lot of plastics throughout the cabin. Now the M5 does do some great things on its interior. I like those seats a lot. They've got the weird massage functionality where it kind of just like lifted one butt cheek at a time every like 5-10 seconds just to keep your blood flowing, so they say. So that was cool, and they had the heated and cooled seats, which was nice. The BMW interiors always felt a little like, I felt like every time I touched something, I felt like something was going to break, or it was like very plasticky. Whereas Audis, I've never felt like that. Especially this generation of Audi, like the 2013 to 2018 era, where you've got the screen that, pops up and goes away, and you've still got buttons for all the climate control. You've got a little screen in front of you, but not all screen. You've still got some regular gauge dials, which is nice. You've got just the right amount of technology. You've got the heads-up display. The BMW, the same thing. I just feel like their technology at the time maybe wasn't as good as Audi's was. Like, I feel like the heads-up display in this car is much crisper than that of what's in a BMW M5, especially from this era. But even today's BMWs, I don't think their heads-up displays look very good. Like, if you look at them, they're still kind of grainy. And I've been very lucky to spend a lot of time driving an F10 M5 and some newer BMWs, and of course my S6, and a lot of newer Audis as well. So I do have a semi-informed opinion on this. Obviously, I have an Audi S6, so I'm probably a little biased, but I like the BMW M5 a lot. I used to want one, but then I got this car, and I was like, where I'm going with this is I just don't know if the extra power you get out of the M5 is worth, I think, the quality sacrifice you give up to get the M5 over the Audi. And I think the Audis just look way better, especially from this generation. I didn't really like how the BMWs looked at this time. They just kind of looked very like old still, whereas the Audis looked very futuristic, especially when they came out. But even now, they still look better than a lot of the cars that are available. So design-wise, I have to give that to the Audi as well. Interior, I definitely give to the Audi. I mean, these seats, they're sports seats, right? But these are more comfortable than almost any car I've ever sat in. And I've been in Bentleys and Rolls Royces. Those are more comfortable because they're Bentleys and Rolls Royces, and they're $400,000. But as far as German high-end sedans, I still think these are the best seats. The evolution of these are even better. The ones you get in like an SQ8, where they look like this, but they're heated, cooled, and massaging. This generation, S6, S7, RS7, you could only get them, if you wanted these seats, you could only get them heated. If you wanted cooled and massaging, you had to get like the regular comfort seats from an A6 or an A7. I hated those. I don't know why Audi chose to do that. And it's weird, even Audi, if you're watching, even now, an S6 has had just these seats with the heat still. Whereas in an SQ8, you can get the heated, cool massage. I don't know if they're just trying to force people out of their sedans to make everybody buy SUVs or what, but that's ridiculous. It's the same exact seat that's in an S6 now that is in an SQ8, but the S6 just has the heat. I don't know what they're doing, what they're thinking, but they gotta get that together. All right, so interior quality we're giving to the Audi. We just have to. Sorry, BMW fans. I know you love the cars. They're faster for sure, but they're not built better. They're not nicer. And I've always found them to ride stiffer. But it depends what you want. You know, if you want just like the fastest, sportiest thing you can get the BMW. That's pretty much always the answer. If you want, I would say, you want just overall good looks and good technology and something that works really well, I would say the Audi. I do think the Audi is probably the most reliable between the BMW, the Mercedes, and the Audi. And the Mercedes I'm going to talk about in a second here because that's a whole nother topic. But I think between the Audi and the BMW, I'd feel a lot more comfortable. And one of my friends had an F10 M5. That's how I got to, you know, drive it a little bit. And he had stuff break all the time on him. Like coil packs would just go. He'd get stuck in limp mode all the time. The only time I've ever had this car to go into limp mode was the dealer left a wire out of place and it was shorting out, hitting the engine block. Otherwise, I've never been stranded by this car ever. So I think the Audi reliability is just better. The all-wheel drive lets you be more versatile in more situations. And I'm just more confident in their build quality, to be honest. All the German brands are guilty of using plastics in places they probably shouldn't be using plastics, of course. But I think BMW is the worst about it, just from mechanic videos I've watched on YouTube. They all seem to think that the BMWs just go crazy with how much plastic they use. So, fellow Audi SQ5 just drove by. Audi gang. And this whole thing is not to hate on BMWs. They're awesome cars. There's some that I've wanted. I think the F90 M5 is great too, but then you get into the problem of, would you rather have an F90 M5 or an E63 for Mercedes at the same time? Because I feel like the performance is basically the same. Mercedes sounds way better. I think it looks way better. I don't know. Just every time BMW makes a great car, I feel like there's something from another brand that's just a little better, or does something better, or looks better, or is close enough in performance to the BMW, but has a better interior or better something. That just makes me be like, why would you get the BMW unless you just want straight up performance? Which I understand if that's what you want. You know, I like that too, don't get me wrong. But, you know, in a car like this isn't a McLaren. It's supposed to be my daily driver. So I want the performance, but also I want to be comfortable when I'm driving it. I want to have good speakers, have good everything. And I just think Audi and Mercedes both do that better than BMW does most of the time. And, you know, BMW, if you want to put me in some of your newer cars and see if you can change my mind, I'm all for it. Get in touch with me. But I just think over the last 10 years or so, especially like the generations we were talking about, where it's, you know, the C7, S6, S7, RS7 versus like the F10, M5, and the M6 of the time. Now, the M6 looks so much cooler than an M5 that I kind of think, you know, I could see why somebody would get that over, you know, say a S7 or whatever. But BMW always goes and does weird stuff though. Like in M6, you can't get a sunroof. You have to go with the carbon roof or a regular roof, which is cool. But again, it's a daily driver. It's not meant to be a McLaren or a track car or whatever, you know, like it's a daily, and I want to open my sunroof in my daily, even if it has 600 horsepower. So just weird things like that always end up turning me off of BMW last minute. Sorry to all the BMW fanboys out there. I love you, but you know, not over other brands. But, you know, hey, and let me know in the comments if you agree, disagree, if you have any of these cars I've talked about, or if you have anything similar. I would love to hear what you think. If I had to just say, is the S6 a true competitor to an M5? The obvious answer is no, because the power is just different. What the M5 really competes with is an RS6 sedan, which hasn't existed for, I think, 2 generations now. I've been hearing rumors that the RS6 sedan is coming back on this next generation RS6 that's supposed to come out any day. So, I mean, there's been pictures of it driving around. So unless they've really tricked us with like a S6 test mule or something, but people that have seen it in person say it sounds like a V8. So I would think that's the new RS6 sedan. So maybe I'll buy one of those at some point, you know. I mean, they're probably going to have to lose, you know. If that car is going to be 160 grand, 170 grand probably, which is crazy how expensive. That's one thing. The Audis are always more expensive. Like if you go look at an RS7 and then you look at it next to the price of like an M8, the RS7 is like 20 grand more. So at least when they came out, I think BMW's upped their prices a little bit, but that RS6 sedan probably have to lose a good 40, 50 grand of depreciation the first like 2 years, and I'd like to skip that preferably. I would, if this RS6 sedan is cool, although, you know, I'm not loving Audi's interior at the moment. They went like the screens are huge. Like Mercedes nailed the 2-screen thing with like a 1920 E63. Those 2 screens are perfect. The ones that were in the S class for like 10 years. Audi's just, the screens they slapped on there are just too much. But if maybe they fix that or they revamp it before the car comes out or something, because there's rumors they're working on that. I would love one of those eventually, because that would be a true M5 competitor, an RS6 sedan, an M5, an E63. Those are like the 3 big, the top sedans, top super sedans, let's call them. So if you love super sedans like me, this is a very hot topic to you, very pertinent topic. But if you don't, you're probably just like, whatever, I just buy the one from the brand I like. And most of you probably want S4s and M3s anyway, so I don't know why I even did this video. But if that's how you feel, hopefully you still enjoyed this video of the bigger cars. I promise not every video on the channel will be, big sedan focused, but that's just what I like. So that's what this video is on. So I hope you enjoyed. Please go check out the other stuff on my channel. I get some good stuff coming up, especially the issue I had with this car recently was pretty funny. Please go check that out. Check out all my other stuff. I got plenty of videos coming up. If I haven't put it out already when you're seeing this video, I'm going to do a full review on all the maintenance I've had done to this car, and that might scare you away from any German car, let alone specifically a German sedan, let alone specifically an S6 or an M5 or whatever. So go check that out for me. Let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next video.